Morning guys. Alright, so we really try and get a bit of a database up of information for you guys. And today what I want to take you guys through is the installation of the URS cage and go through a little bit about them as well. So I'll take you through the whole process. That's whether they be the already pre-wired type cages or the other ones which is just the cage itself. And I'll even take you through how to install the fitting. So to start off, two types of cages that URS do is obviously the pre-wired, okay? So the pre-wired, it's a cage and it's got a little socket inside it, and then you can just screw that to it. What that works really well for is if you've got like a timber type enclosure, all you have to do is just put a little hole through the back of it and run the cabling all the way through, screw it up to the roof in the position that you require. Now, these can be installed to the glass terrariums that URS sell, and it's super easy. I'll take you through that. It's a little bit different in the original process, the way we did it, but this way works so much better, so we're gonna stick with that for now. The next cage that they do is obviously just the cage itself. Now, these guys are really good. No different to the other ones, they just don't have that little fitting inside. They've got a really strong spring that we can clip on, and that just keeps the cage closed and the snakes and that can't get in there. So first off guys, we need to remove obviously the lid from the terrarium. Now the tools that you're going to need, you don't need a lot, and it's not really a big tool amount. You can probably find most of these around the house at home. So what I've got a little Phillips head screwdriver. That's just to undo the screws inside the light fitting itself. I've got a slightly narrower flathead, and I'll use that if I need to sort of give it a bit more pressure inside to take the ring out for the pre-cut die. And then I've got a larger flat tip. That's what I'm going to use to push out the pre-cut die tops. Alright, we need a rivet. We need two different drill bits, okay? So one's the thickness of the electrical cable that the fitting has, and then the other one is roughly about a 4 to 5 mil drill bit, and that's what we're going to drill for the rivets to go into the top. Obviously, if we're going to be drilling, we need a decent drill, and then just in case, we've got a couple of tin snips that make just the cutting of the outside a little bit easier. So first step, if we've got this cage here, all right, the process of pulling it all apart is going to be the same and reinstalling it back into the fitting housing itself. But there's just a slight difference in the way that you're going to do your top. So for the top, all we're going to do is get the bigger drill bit, which is the same thickness, a little bit bigger than the cabling itself, and then we're just going to chuck that into the drill nice and tight. Now we just need to work out which side we're going to have all our fittings on. The large tanks are pretty easy. They've got 3 fittings. Your mediums have got 2, so you don't really have much of a, an option. It's either going to go on one or the other side. If you spin it around, it changes the side, obviously. So for that, we're just going to get our little drill bit, and we're just going to put it through the center of our hole. All right? That is where we're then going to feed the cable once we pull through and undo all the fitting that we're going to put inside it. Okay, so then that way the cable goes inside, it's nice and neat as it comes out and falls over the back, and it just looks tidy. But for us, we've got a customer that wants this cage and the fitting in the top part itself. So that's what we're going to take you through the whole process of that today. So for this, we need our big screwdriver and the nice big flathead. And I'm going to put my thumb just on the top, and then we're just going to apply a small amount of pressure just to the top, and then they will push out of the die cut. Looks sort of like that once you get it out. From there, I just get the slightly smaller Phillips head. It's just a little bit easier, and we just bend those tops up, and then that way we can just give it a bit of a wiggle inside, and that little die cut comes straight out. Super easy guys, there's no real mucking around with it. If you're finding you have to put a heap of pressure on there, just stop, have a look at it and see where your pressure points can go in, because you don't want to apply too much to the glass lid. I've never done it, but there is a chance because there is glass and you're putting a lot of pressure that you could smash it, all right? So just be careful. Now that we've got the hole in there, we then go to our fitting, all right? URS fittings, they've got a max wattage of 250, so they are really good and really strong. So the first thing we've got to do is this little clip at the top, we've just got to unroll that. That's just to keep all the cabling all that tight. Now, always say this, hold the bottom and unscrew the top. If you unscrew the bottom, you're going to twist the wires within and they're going to break. So once we've unscrewed the top, we can just pull that all the way back, and then on the inside we've got our cabling. So this is where the smaller screwdriver comes in handy, and we're just going to undo those little screws on the inside just to release the cabling. Once the cabling's released, we've got these two little rubber seals on the inside. We're just going to place one of them on the bottom, put that all the way down the end there, and then this, if you have a look on that, we can see we've got either, you know, the two little dots, we call that the M, or you've got the W, depends on which way you're looking at it, but I like looking at it as the M. Alright, we're going to place that fitting underneath and then put that through the lid at the mesh top here, making sure that the clips are facing down, which should give us about, you know, 3/4 of an inch gap between the table and where the fitting comes through. That second gasket, little seal thing, goes on top of that. We've then got our power cable. So you've got your blue and your brown. The way I like to remember it is if you're looking at it from the end, so we're looking at the two little gaps like that, the blue is always on the left, the brown's always on the right. Simple, easy to remember, guys. So from that, we're just going to put them in, and we're just going to do them up nice and tight. Doesn't need to go to FT, we're sweet, just nice grip on that. So we'll do both of those up. Once we've done them both up and they're nice and tight, we get our top. We just give it a bit of a swing on the top there just to get it to seat in, hands underneath. Remember, spin the top. Once we've spin the top, we get that nice and tight, and you'll hear a bit of a squeak when it comes in nice and tight. And then a little black screw cap, we'll just do that back up on top, and then everything's there nice and neat, right? So that's your fittings. If you've got your bearded dragons, your blue tongues, and all those sorts of stuff, really easy to do the tops yourself. Otherwise, we do it for free in store. There's nothing to it, so it's pretty easy. What I like to do, guys, is when we get our cage out, I like having a bit of a stable platform. The box is roughly the same height, a little bit bigger than the actual cage itself. So once we lift this up, we're going to put the cage on one side, the box on the other side. It gives us a nice, easy platform to work with. We then change over our drill bits to our slightly smaller one for our rivets. Once that's in nice and tight, what I want to do is on this cage, I want to make sure that not only is the fitting itself centered, but we've also got on the corners, there's like those little holes that you screw it all into. We're just going to have them on diagonal. So it's going to go right up on the one side where the railing comes for the top, and again on the other side, so it goes across on a diagonal. Once we've had a look at that and we mark it out, what we've got to do is inside the cage. Now, URS is pretty much the only brand that give these things to you, which is awesome. No other brand really has them, but there's these two little blockers. Those, we want to put them into the cage now. Trust me, it's going to be a nightmare trying to get your pressure into them to get them in. So they're really good. So we just, in the little holes, we just slide them straight in. It's nice and easy. And then we reline up our cage, get it nice and centered, looking good. All right, once we can see the holes, I try and line them up with the original holes in the mesh top. Just makes it a little bit easier. Doesn't matter, there's nothing really that's going to stop you being able to punch through these. Then give it a bit of a drill, get those holes in there, and then we'll get out our rivets. We need 2 of them for this rivet gun. To chuck them into the rivet gun again. Just apply a little bit of pressure to that. That just helps it sit in there. Once we've got it in there, we're just going to push the rivet gun all the way through until that seats in. We'll do it to the other side. Once they're in, nice and strong, doesn't go anywhere, looks nice and tidy from the top along with the bottom. So we're all nice and centered and central, and that's it, guys. That's all there is to it. If you're gonna put 2 fittings in and you need 2 cages, you just double the process. That's the only difference. So it's super easy, all right? I can't make it any more clear than this, and it works really, really well, and it's gonna last a lot longer. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll get some more stuff out to you guys pretty soon. See you guys.